Welcome to another edition of Banter by the Blender. This episode is going to be about life food. We all live in the same society. Now that we're globalized and we have the internet, we have an understanding of the world that we live in, and we can look up the information that we want. But we're still heavily influenced by the culture that we're born into. The concept of indoctrination affects us all. We all have beliefs that we didn't choose. And food is a big, fat, complicated topic about what we think we like and what we're told that we're like. Or at least the world that we grew up in, what we believe is correct, what we're used to, what we're familiar with. It reminds me of the story of the monkeys who are living in the trees. And one day, there's a monkey, and he was hanging on the side of a tree, and he died. He fell right out of the tree. And so, then there was another monkey next to him. He also was eating the bad food, and he also died. And then the third monkey was hanging on the side of the tree. He had just been eating the fruit and the leaves and stuff. Maybe not the leaves, but the fruit from the tree, and he also fell right out of the tree. But he wasn't dead. So when they asked the monkey, "Hey, why'd you fall out of that tree?" And he said, "Peer pressure." We're a lot like that monkey. We walk around in a society with billboards and food that is enticing. And so we make a lot of our decisions based on what we want to fit in, and we want things to taste good. We don't want to waste our time with this bad tasting, bad reputation food. And I can relate. But over time, I've recognized, and what this episode is about, is what's called life food. And life food isn't an on-off type of concept. There isn't like, this is life food and this is not life food. That may be true to an extent, but it's more like some foods are high in life food and some foods are low in life food. And then there is even a category of death food. So once you go below 0, it turns into death food. And what death food is, it's any food that requires a sentient being to die in order to produce, or it's taking from the life of a sentient being. So you can imagine that this is all of the animal products out there. Those are all what's called death food. And if you're eating death food, then it's the opposite of life food. It's food that is basically bad for you, it's bad for the planet, it's bad for the beings that it takes from. Now, our society doesn't tell us that. Our society likes to dance around and tell us that it's a masculine quality to eat animal products, and why do your own digesting when you can take the food from another animal and eat it? It's what the cavemen and the ancestors have always done, and we have always prized the food taken from the beings that are lesser than us. This is a concept and a mentality like falling out of a tree as a monkey. We don't need to fall for that anymore. So, things are changing. We are waking up. We're recognizing that our food is medicine as a society and as a culture, and there are a lot of healthy people moving towards a plant-based diet, moving towards a way of living that's more in harmony. It's better for in all categories. So I just want to shout out to all of the plants that are growing up out of the concrete, despite the hardest conditions, and all the people out there doing their best. So this topic is for the privileged. So sorry about that if you're in survival state, or you're working your 9 to 5 and you're like, I don't have time for this garbage. Give me my food and let me go to bed. Those people, I'm sorry, but this conversation ain't for you. You might as well go watch your Looney Tunes or your Carl's Jr. commercials and make yourself feel as good as you can before you have to go back to your daily life, which may be less than ideal. But for all of the people like me, I'm happy to say I'm a privileged middle-class American. I'm about to go to work but I have a little bit of time in the morning to prepare my tea from my cat kettle and talk about live food for a little bit. I wake up with ideas or inspiration and I think, I gotta talk about this to who knows who you are. We should do an episode on you sometime. Or give me your feedback. Who are you? If you're watching this, who would watch this? I'm curious. So you probably have something to say about this too. Food is something that unites us. It's a cultural thing. And sometimes our family or our culture, we connect with our food. It's hard to tell a family member or the community we live in that we aren't eating that anymore. We aren't eating that death food, We're going to stick to the life food. So let's get on to it. Let's talk about some good quality life food that I have before me. Now, all plant-based food, as close as fresh as you can get, would just be considered life food. If you're just eating unprocessed lentils and beans and rice and quinoa and vegetables and mushrooms and cashews and all things like that, it's all going to make a delicious food, and you mix some curry sauce in there and then you have a great meal, and you can make that as much as you want, and it's all good quality life food. But if you want to get into something like a little extra special, we can get into food that is alive, right now. Like this, for example, which is a kefir, which has been going for 48 hours. I tested it yesterday, it had 0 fizz. So let's just see what we got. Ooh, yeah. Give it 48 hours. Uh-oh. We have an overflow, people. This happens sometimes. I did not think this was going to happen to this one, but that's what happens sometimes. That's actually why I have this bowl over here. I was like, I don't need the bowl. This one's not an overflower. But when I put fiber into these drinks, they're much more likely to become extra volatile like that. So this one has grapes in it. I did an episode on the kefir drink. It's a great probiotic full of living beings in a concentration higher than you can get from the store, because they can't hold this kind of energy on the shelf. They'll be blasting off every 5 minutes. So what you have here is an extraordinarily high concentration of bacteria that digest sugar. That sounds like a high quality life food right there. Invite them into my biome right here, gut bacterium. That's what we're going to do next. It's so complicated. This one has all the flavors. Occasionally you do get a little bit extra that it should have been drank maybe 12 hours ago. But it's still delicious. I mean, the fizziness and the fruit combination, this one has a little bit of the smell that it should have been drinking a little earlier. It's still so good though. And it's going right into my gut biome. Sometimes I like to use words that I don't fully understand the meaning of, so that I can sound a lot more photosynthesis. So I would say that there's plenty to learn, and there's plenty to unlearn. And so, if you want to learn how to do kefir, check out my kefir episode. That might be up here, but probably not. This is another one. I made this one at the same time as this. Very different ingredients, by the way. This one has fruit juice in it, so that's a lot of sugar. This one had a tea I made, mixed, and I put maple syrup and a little bit of honey. Let's just see what happens. I'm not going to use the bowl. Oh my god, I gotta use the bowl. What? Oh my gosh, I had no idea. It's even worse. Okay, so we gotta watch out for that in the future. Oh man, I'm gonna have to do some cleanup after this. Good thing I have a privileged lifestyle, and I can clean this up, still get ready for work, and do what I need to do with my day. But what we have here is another kefir explosion. I have a feeling that this one is also overdone by a little bit. So I think I should make them in the evening and open them in the morning after 36 hours or 32 hours, but not 48, because this is what happens. But even still, this drink is so good. Let's see how this one turns out. I can tolerate it. It doesn't have the complexity of this one. Just ate a raisin. Yeah. This one's not as good. But I've decided that apple juice, you make kefir apple juice, and that's the stuff. I can do that on a regular cycle. Just keep cranking out the kefir apple juice. I just buy apple juice from the store. I'm still working out how to reduce the containers. Now that's another episode though. Something else I want to touch on before this episode becomes so long that nobody's willing to get this far into it. Who are you, by the way, that would go this far? Then, the concept of sprouting. You can take a lot of live foods and then sprout them. This is leaking right now. I got a lot to clean up. This is some sprouting seeds. You can just get all kinds of stuff. This one is a mixture of sprouts to sprout. It's written so tiny that I cannot read it. But I've done this with this mix before. It's really good. It's pretty easy to do. You try to get a container that can, you can put the sprouts in, but the liquid has to be able to leak out. Like this one. This one's still going, so every once in a while I rinse it and I let the liquids flow out of it so that it gets nice and moist and it kicks off the sprouting process. Usually you start by soaking them for overnight or so. But you take this, I don't know what happened, technical difficulties, it stopped, but now it has started again. So sprouting seeds, that's a great live food option for you that I wanted to put on display. Lots of experimentation there. You can take anything. You can take a lot of things like flax seeds I've done before. I gotta do that again. I'm trying to do chia seeds back here, but that one's not going so well. So that's the main topic I wanted to talk about, is that if you can have live foods in your life and that's what you're eating and consuming, life gets much better. There's a certain essence that I want to try to capture sometime that's just about if you expand your awareness higher and bigger and include more into it. And that's acknowledging what this is, that what life foods are, compared to things like death foods. Your life gets better. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want to have a belief where it limits my ability to go to Carl's Jr. or McDonald's, or when everybody's having all this food, I don't want to feel like I can't have any. And that's the mentality, if you're at the bottom of a mountain, you're like, I don't know about climbing that thing, it's kind of big. It's kind of a mentality that you have at the bottom of anything. But once you start climbing and you start making steps towards it, then you start to experience some of the benefits. And a lot of these benefits, in the way of food, you got 2 weeks is the minimum to make changes to your gut bacteria, gut biome. In other words, when you first start drinking kefir, the reactions inside might be a little bit, there might be a little bit of bloating or gas or something like that inside. And that's true with some plant foods. Some people are like, oh, beans make me fart, and I don't like the farty smell. And that's their decision. That's the thing that stops them from eating healthy food. Also, you have to add flavor. So people are like, I don't know the flavor thing. The flavor is missing, but the companies make the flavor, and I eat the food the company make the flavor. I don't know who that's impersonating, but I'm trying to say that's not me. That's not me at all, or at least not anymore. I lost my train of thought there. Baby steps. You just gotta make baby steps in the direction of higher awareness. And with the understanding that with higher awareness comes more options. You may not know what those options are. You may not know what it feels like to have a life that's expanded and bigger and more about life and less about death. But I can tell you, and you can ask people who are strictly plant-based or a certain way by choice, because some people have to go plant-based because of health. Which actually, those people, if you interview them, people who go plant-based because they're forced to, because they'll die if they don't, because animal products are so bad for you and cause heart disease and clogged arteries, that people will go plant-based for health reasons alone. This most selfish way to do it, but it's true. People, you should be doing things for your health. Those people, when you interview them, have an awakening, not because they climbed the mountain, but because they were forced up the mountain. They get to the top of the mountain, which is a plant-based mentality, and they go, oh my gosh, those monkeys were falling out of the tree because their diets were so bad that they were suffering inside, and they didn't know why or how. And only once you've gotten out of it, once you're out of this cycle of suffering, once you stop buying these factory farmed products, can you have this experience of expansion and be in a place where you're like, I'm a member of society and I do not partake and participate in that particular way of belief or mentality, and that is liberating. You become free from that cage. And that's what life foods give you, along with all of the health benefits, all of the environmental benefits. That's what this episode is about. So thanks for watching, person out there who's staring at this probably right now, maybe even just listening. You might be doing something else, but you're a part of this too now. And I'm happy that it took place in the way, and that you witnessed it in your unique and judgmental fashion with your own internal dialogue about it. But I'm going to bring this to a close and just say, sometimes high awareness and common sense are not always a gift, because sometimes you have to, it's like a punishment, because you have to be aware of what's going on and recognize that this is the world we live in, people. We gotta awaken and take steps forward. Just baby steps. Just think to yourself, yes, let's take steps in the life of direction. The direction of life also, but you can do the life in the direction of directing. You can direct a show if you want. Just get a camera out and stick it in your kitchen and come up with a name related to this one item in your kitchen, and you got a show. Just, that's the direction of the director of their life. So continue on with your day and adventure from here, and give it a shot. I mean, take one baby step in the direction of life today. Or one shot. Take one shot of some live food. That could be another way to deal with this. Really, gotta take better notes over here. I mean, like scribbling down some jokes, photosynthesis. Gotta do better next time.